Sick.
Yes, we do. Yes.
Guys, how do you create suspense? I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Oh. Oh, they're blowing up balloons fast. Oh.
I think the
I
guys
cannot
might
tie
win.
a balloon this fast. What?
He said he does a job with balloons. I
He
don't even
works
have a job
for
yet.
balloons.
Holy.
Guys, y'all better lock in.
I think the guys are on
We have a minute left. Y'all
1
have a
minute
left.
remaining. You can use the back of the shirt too. You can use the
Guys, y'all
back
better
too.
lock in.
Brenna, why'd you come up with this game?
I can't even try that.
Too late, The girls might need to pick up the pace a little bit.
Yeah,
They
you guys
might be
better lock
slacking.
in, dude.
So we got like 2 more balloons after this.
All right, we can get you some
we
more.
only have
Do we have any
20
more? Nah, we are
don't
out of
have any more.
balloons. I guess we'll do whoever fills it up first.
Well, I didn't split them.
How many more do they have? Did you give them an even amount?
Okay.
All right, we are out of balloons.
No, we're not.
No, we're not. He has
Yeah, you
one
got
more.
this.
You got this. All right,
got
both of our contestants are done.
Okay, guys.
Julia, you want to come to the
Let's
center of the
count
stage?
our balloons. How many balloons did y'all have?
10.
Count your
10?
balloons.
It's even.
Yeah, count them. Yeah, take them out. You can count them. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
It's even. You gave them each
10.
balloons.
Y'all had 10?
Okay, well, who do y'all think won? Cheer for the boys
Oh,
if you think they won. They're being kind of lame.
if y'all think the girls won, y'all can cheer. Okay.
All
Do y'all
right.
think the girls won? Good job, guys.
If y'all want to pick up your balloons, you can keep them. And we'll take the shirts back. I'll take the shirts. Thank you for playing. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Turn to your neighbor and ask them what their favorite balloon flavor is. Balloon flavor.
All them shots, they left me holy, but I'm still holy. Ain't nothing changing but them seasons, Brody, I'm still holy. Demon scheming, read Ephesians, seen it, I'm still holy. Jesus, heathen seeking, he the reason I'm still holy. In the dark, in the light, messed up, got right, in the day, in the night, no change, it's smoke forever. Midwest, East Coast, West Coast, up north, south side, we are the tribe.
Ayy, baby, you still see me beaming. I'm running the west, but I walk in the kingdom. Might be in the mood to put lead in the demon. If I'm getting stoned, I do it like Steven. I'm more dead in the flag, the tat on my neck, the cross on my back. You look up a smoke, you know where it's at. The sound of them horses is God coming back for real. Take what I have for real. I stay in my bag for real. My name in his hand for real, my dog.
Out the kennel, they forget I'm a dog. Shit for helping, they didn't pick up the call. Saw the prince say he forgiving it all. Big brother done fulfilling the law. Still holy, in the whole world, but you still feel lonely. With a homie, but it don't feel like home. Heard the Lord rose and he saying get to know. From the city to listen to 101 lights out. To the state where they told you to show me. Even in the bottom of a hole and without a rope, if you got the ghost, you holy.
guys. Welcome. We are so glad you're here. I hope you all had a really good Thanksgiving. We're so glad y'all joined us, hopefully with full bellies, happy hearts, joyful hearts. Hey guys, welcome to another Sunday. We're glad to have y'all back. I know it's been several days. Y'all have kind of all been on break mode. So just a reminder, if you haven't gotten a chance to check in, make sure you check in. We want to know that you're here to be able to say hi. And if you're new here and you've never been to student service, we're really glad you decided to join us today. Today's going to be a fun special service. We're going to be doing a table talk. So it's going to look a little different. So we're excited that you get to join us in on that. If you are new, we want to know you and we want to know that you're here. So we have a Connect form for you to fill out if you want to go ahead and find one of the adults and they can kind of walk you through what that looks like. It helps us get your information to know more about you and to get a chance to get to know you. So yeah, we're going to go ahead, and here we actually have a special guest today for worship. We have Miss Lexi. Yes, we're very excited. So Woogie today is leading worship in main service, so we get the chance to be blessed with Miss Lexi here leading worship. So she's going to lead us through some songs, and I will let her take the floor, but make sure you give her your attention.
Can you guys hear me? All right, great. We're off to a great start. Good morning. I hope you guys have had an awesome Thanksgiving. Yeah, we're just going to worship together. I want to open us up in some prayer. Father, thank you so much that we get to just be together and that you give us so many things to be thankful for. Please just open our hearts to receiving your love this morning. Help us to fully believe these truths that we're about to sing about. And I just ask you prepare the hearts of the speakers who we get to hear from, and that you can just bless this time that we're all together. We love you, and in your name, amen. So go ahead and stand, and we'll go ahead and get started in some worship. Christ is my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand when everything around me is shaking. I've never been more glad that I put my faith in Jesus, 'cause he's never let me down. He's faithful through generations. So why would he fail now? He won't. No, he won't. I've still got joy in chaos. I've got peace that makes no sense, so I won't be going under. I'm not held by my own strength, 'cause I build my life on Jesus. He's never let me down. He's faithful in every season. So why would he fail now? He won't. No, he won't. He won't fail. He won't fail. He won't. No, he won't. He won't fail. He won't fail. Christ is my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand when everything around me is shaking. I've never been more glad that I put my faith in Jesus, 'cause he's never let me down. He's faithful through generations. So why would he fail now? He won't. make it through, 'cause I'm standing strong on you. I'm gonna make it through, 'cause my house is built on you. Christ is my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand when everything around me is shaking. I've never been more glad that I put my faith in Jesus, 'cause he's never let me down. He's faithful through generations. So why would he fail now? He won't. No, he won't. He won't fail. He won't fail. No, he won't. Man, God is so good. I was in Bible 101 this morning in young adults, and we were reading through John 15, and there's a few verses I wanted to read. It says, I have loved you even as the Father has loved me. Remain in my love. When you obey my commandments, you remain in my love, just as I obey my Father's commandments and remain in his love. I have told you these things so that you will be filled with my joy. Yes, your joy will overflow. And this is my commandment. Love each other in the same way as I have loved you. So we are to remain in him, and in doing that, not by striving, but by trusting in him, like he will fill us with his love, and he will guide us. And I just think that that's so beautiful. And out of that overflow, we are called to step into loving one another and into loving God. And so, along with him being our firm foundation, we have this next song. It talks about Jesus is the only one who's worthy, and just giving out of that overflow and proclaiming his name. So. I am an instrument of exaltation. I was born to lift your name above all names. You hear the melody of all creation, but there's a song of praise that only I can bring. Who else is worthy? Who else is worthy? There is no one, only you, Jesus. Who else is worthy? Who else is worthy? There is no one, only you, Jesus. You are the infinite God of the ages. Yet you chose to make my heart your dwelling place. You healed my brokenness, showed me your glory. So I have songs of thanks not even angels sing. Who else is worthy? Who else is worthy? There is no one, only you, Jesus. Who else is worthy? Who else is worthy? There is no one, only you, Jesus. Lamb of God, anointed one, who was and is to come, seated on the throne above. Holy, holy, righteous one, who shed his blood. You proved to us the Father's love. Jesus Christ, be lifted up. Holy, holy, Lamb of God, anointed one, who was and is to come, seated on the throne above. Holy, holy, righteous one, who shed his blood. You proved to us the Father's love. Jesus Christ, be lifted up. Who else is worthy? Who else is worthy? There is no one, only you, Jesus. Who else is worthy? Who else is worthy? There is no one, only you, Jesus. There is no one, only you, Jesus. There is no one, only you, Jesus. Who else is worthy? Who else is worthy? There is no one, only you, Jesus. Who else is worthy? Who else is worthy? There is no one, only you, Jesus. There is no one, only you, Jesus. There is no one, only you, Jesus. Narrow as the road may seem, I will follow your spirit leads. Broken as your life may be, I will give you every peace. I hear you call, I am available. I say, yes, Lord, I am available. Here I am with open hands, counting on your grace again. Less of me and more of you. I just wanna see you move. I hear you call, I am available. I say, yes, Lord, I am available. I hear you call, I am available. I say, yes, Lord, I am available. You can have it all. You can have it all. Here I am. Here I am. You can have it all. You can have it all. Here I am. Here I am. You can have it all. You can have it all. Here I am. For the one who gave me life, nothing is a sacrifice. Use me how you want to, God. Have you it within my heart? I hear you call. I am available. Use me, yes, Lord. I am available.
Dear God, let those words just be the anthem of our heart, Lord. That we would just know how to say yes, Lord. Lord, that we would be sensitive to your voice. God, as we get ready to hear from some of our leaders today, Lord, members of our church family, God, that you would just open our ears, open our hearts, that we would get to see the beauty of what you've done in their life, Lord, and that we would see how you're wanting to do the same in ours, God. I just ask that you make us malleable, Lord, that we come with open hearts and open hands, Lord, and we just learn what it is to say yes to your calling, God. We love you and we praise you. In your name, amen. Amen. Hey guys, you can be seated. Welcome. So we have a table talk today, which we are so excited. So as you can see, we have these lovely faces up here on stage. Most of you probably recognize who they are, or if not, we're gonna introduce them very soon. But we are doing a table talk, so some of you might remember, as some of y'all might remember, we've been going over our calling series the last 3 weeks. And so Eric has taught on how to discern what your gifts are and what that looks like, and how God has gifted each and every one of you with unique gifts, and they're intentional gifts of what you can use to glorify him. And he's also placed you intentionally in different settings. And that he's given you a calling. He's given you a Christian calling of what it means to walk with Jesus as a believer, and he's given you a unique calling. And all of those things work together for your ministry. And so today, we get to hear from these 4 individuals that are members of our church family, just what it has looked like throughout their lives to walk in God's calling, and what that looks like, and kind of talk through the things that they've learned along the way, the things that they want to share with you, kind of talk through like what is calling and what is not calling, and look at it in a very practical way. And so I encourage you to listen, because there's going to be parts of their stories that you may be like, oh, like my life actually looks a lot like that right now, and there's some questions that I want to ask because of what they said, or some things that maybe the Lord is wanting you to know, and hear it through them. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn over to these guys, and I want to start off with the question of just having each one of you introduce yourselves, and then just talk through how you're a part of Faith Bible Church, and how you're a part of the church family, and how long you've been here, and then just maybe 3 main settings that you find yourself in daily, of where you do ministry.
Hi, I'm Becky Kaiser. Yay! 10th grade girls. I lead the 10th grade girls, so that's how I'm plugged in at the church. And then I also have 3 girls. So Mariah, do you want to wave to everybody? You're like dying. Got Mariah, and Chandler's in the back, and then my oldest isn't here. And then Chris, my husband, leads 11th grade boys. Do we have any 11th grade boys in the house? Wow. Chris.
There's one.
Okay, good job. Way to go, you. What was the question? We're sharing our context of life.
Yeah.
So I'm a mom to these 3 girls. I am, as we're talking about calling today, I'll share more of my journey, but I have really done a lot of different things. So I have done public relations and marketing, life coaching, and I'm an author and speaker, and recently transitioned into real estate. So a jack of all trades over here. Any other things? Okay.
That was great. Yeah. Tag. Hi, I'm Jody. I am married to Chad, who is one of the lead pastors, discipleship guy here on staff. We have 3 kiddos. 2 of them are in student ministry. One is Lincoln, and if you could give him a couple dollars, he owes me a drink now because he did not believe that I was doing this, and he has to pay for my Quick Trip drink for lunch. So if y'all could help him out, that'd be great. Lily's a freshman. I serve in kids ministry, and then I also kind of jump in regen when I can as well. And then, as you'll hear more, I'm actually going to start in January back at the church. Did you know this? I'll be an intern in the counseling ministry. Tag, you're it.
Did you say Quick Trip?
Yeah, he owes me a drink.
At Quick Trip?
Yes.
Okay.
It's less than $1 to get a drink
It's
there.
a choice. Hi. My name is Lance. I am the operations pastor at Faith Bible Church. I've been a member of Faith Bible Church for nearly 11 years, worked here for 4. My wife Ginger and I have been married for 15 years. Ginger also leads 10th grade girls, right? Yeah. I have 1 daughter in here, Nora, who's in 7th grade. And then my son Luke's in 5th grade. He's probably playing knockout in the gym right now. What was my, where I do ministry?
3 main settings.
Yeah, so I work here with operations. That's a stewardship role. So the money people give us, the building we have, the job is to steward that well and make sure our staff does that. I have always enjoyed teaching and leading, and so even before I worked here, taught in classes and different small group settings. And then, like a lot of us as a parent, I think that's my primary calling right now is to disciple my 2 kids and try to do that well. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you.
All right, hi. I'm Christopher Riggs, or known as Mr. Chris to my 12th grade small group. I think I got some of these guys here today. Thank you. Some people may know me as Caitlin's dad. She's being quiet over there. Some people know me as Colin and Cameron's dad. My involvement with the church goes on a couple of different things. I do serve the church as a church deacon. My wife and I were part of the marriage ministries for 8 years, and occasionally I'll pop in and we'll talk about a topic with regard to marriage. I've also been a part of kind of a special mission trip to Italy over the last 3 years, where we go over and we teach baseball as part of an outreach group to share Christ with some of the kids there in the Trento region as well. As an occupation, I work as an investment manager and personal financial planner here for a firm in the Woodlands. So I use my specific skills there and feel like that's ministry and the clients that I work with. Did I miss anything?
Yeah, no, that was awesome. Yeah, so you guys just got to hear kind of what their life looks like right now and just a tiny little snippet of the different environments that they find themselves in where they get to use their gifts. But I imagine that most of you guys, when y'all were in high school and when y'all were in junior high and when y'all were our students' ages, that y'all maybe didn't imagine that y'all's life looked like this, or that the journey that y'all took to get here would have been the journey that you would have planned. So how does your life look different than what you planned or what you thought it would look like in high school?
Oh, wow, I've got volunteered to start on this side. So I think a lot of people will be able to identify with my story. When I looked at kind of my calling growing up and looked at how I was going to move forward, I did not have a clear path. I actually had a really big cloud. It wasn't a dark cloud. It wasn't necessarily a negative thing, but it just was really, really uncertain. I didn't know what God had in store for me, where my career would go. And so that was a really big thing for me. I would often find myself in a place where I just didn't really know what was next. And so when I look at my story of where I sit here today, what I can say about what was different from 12th grade is that I didn't know anything, and God had a plan for me that required trust and faith from step to step, because he had plans that were bigger and greater for me than I even could imagine.
Yeah, that's
awesome. So in high school, I don't think I had no clue what I was going to do career-wise, but I was pretty set on what life would look like. And so I thought, I'm going to go to a college, I'm going to spend 4 years there, and then when I leave, I will know for sure what I'm going to do for a living. I will probably be getting married right after, because that seemed like what people do. I'll be living close to home. I sort of had it all. And I think, in fact, in high school, I grew up in Texas, but like 10 hours from here. And I think I even remember saying in high school, I'll go a lot of places. I would never go to the Houston area. I was like, I will never go there. And then that's the first thing I did out of college. So I didn't have a specific plan, but I had an idea in my head of like what life is supposed to look like based on what I'd seen. And then probably similar to all of us, it was pretty quick that I realized, it's going to look totally different because God had a different plan.
I may be a little, I love our kids and I love my family, so just know that as I say this. Don't hold this against me, okay? But I can tell you very, very certain that when I was in high school and when I was in middle school, the idea of getting married and having a family was nothing that I had on my radar or even thought I wanted to do. I played basketball all growing up, and I played in college for a short time, and I was going to go overseas and go do a sport or go do missions or go do something like that. And I was the kind of girl that doesn't need anyone, and I can take care of myself. So that was my mentality growing up. A lot of that is because of the way that I was raised and events that happened. And so that looks vastly different. I have a family, I'm married, and I love it. And I can't imagine now, looking back, I can't imagine life without that. So it's a weird catch on that. But my plan was not to get married. I didn't want to have a family, and I was going to live overseas because in my head at that point, we'll get to this later, in my head at that point, that's what I was supposed to do if I was going to follow Jesus and live for him.
In high school, I didn't really have a plan. I didn't know. I knew I was going to go to college. I really thought I wanted to go to Baylor. Any Baylor fans? But then I toured Texas A&M. Any Aggies?
Woo!
Yeah. As soon as I toured the campus, I was like, this is where I want to go. So my senior year in high school, I didn't know major. I didn't care about any of that stuff. I just knew I wanted to go to Texas A&M. I ended up changing my major 4 times my freshman year. So just I share that as an encouragement of you don't have to have it all planned out. But I just didn't know. I didn't know.
Yeah, I think y'all each spoke on something unique, but also with some similar underlying tones of there are things that you look forward to that you're like, okay, well, I don't have all of the blanks filled in, but I have checkpoints almost of what I should do or I've seen or the only route that I've been exposed to. And so that has to be my route. That has to be the plan that I take and the thing that I do. And there's been some absolutes of I would never do that, or I couldn't do that. As we'll hear later in their stories of a lot of the times our ideas will limit us, and that is not at all what God has planned for us, and he has much greater of what he plans to do with you. But as you can hear, a lot of them in my conversations with you guys of just knowing I guess I'll do this, or I guess I'll do that, and there's a clear intention that the Lord has with your life and a clear intention of what he wants to do and what he plans to do. And he wants you a part of that. He wants you to join in on that. And so a big part of understanding what that looks like, okay, well, if I know I have more options than just the one narrow way that I've seen or the one specific way that I've seen, but maybe that doesn't seem like the right fit for me, or that doesn't seem like that's where I'm being called. It would help us to understand what calling actually means. And so I want to open up to whichever one of you feels comfortable or called to respond of when you think of calling, what does that mean to you? How would you describe that?
Sure, all right. When I was your age, in attending church, I think it was quite common to hear our youth ministers, our pastors, to talk about your calling or God's will for your life. And it was this great, big, grand question. And the way it was always presented was that it was about your job or your career. And so naturally, I fell into that. As I moved through, preparing to be an adult in my early adulthood, I spent my time with lots of education, got into my career, and I became very competitive with it. And oftentimes I would find myself comparing myself to others and falling into the trap and being wholly dissatisfied. I distinctly, very, very distinctly remember a specific moment. It was after I was married, and I was kind of wrestling with God. I remember I was heading that direction down Research Force in my car. I was all alone, and I was really wrestling with God. Why do I feel so far behind? What's my calling here, God? I thought I'm pursuing you and that you're going to lead me here, and I just see myself falling behind. And it was almost vocal. Can't say it was true voice, but I really felt like God melted my heart and body at that moment and said, look, I've given you tons of callings. Your calling is not just your job. You're not defined by your paycheck or your occupation. I've given you a tried and true calling to be a husband where you can make an enormous impact right where you are right now. You don't have kids yet, but I have called you to be a father. You belong to a church, and I'm calling you to sink yourself involved with there. You have a calling to continue to be a faithful, supportive brother, son. You have a calling right in your workplace, not to ascend because you're worried about how far or how high you go, but a calling to impact those people right there in front of you. And so what God did during that moment is he really kind of expanded my definition that a calling goes way beyond anything to do with a job, and that God calls us to these really, really important, valuable spaces in life wherever you are. And none of those are actually inferior to your job. And so we have to elevate. I think this is one of those things we often think about is we have to elevate those other callings that we have in our lives because they're so impactful from an eternal perspective. My wife and I have our own kind of phrase within our household that the Great Commission begins at home. And that just means that one of our first callings is how we love and how we support each other and how we bring our children to faith, right? And so I want people to see that when we talk about calling, we can expand that definition away from what we thought calling was and to say calling for you, whether you're in 7th grade or 8th grade or you're 11th or 12th grade, is really all around you. God has you in a specific place right now for this moment, and you're called to be an ambassador for him in that.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris.
And I would say with calling, very similar in that I think sometimes we are told, like right now, if you're in 7th and 8th grade, you're probably not thinking a lot about like what you're gonna do later in life. But juniors and seniors, would you like nod your head that yes, you're having to like figure this stuff out? Even when you enter high school as a freshman, public school, like you're having to choose your track right away. And that can feel like a lot of pressure. So when it comes to calling, what I would encourage you is, just like Chris was saying, take that pressure off yourself to know how it's going to flush out. Like I already told you, I changed my major 4 times my freshman year in college, and I've turned out okay. You're going to be fine, whatever that may be. Another thing I would say is, I think sometimes in church settings, and this is especially for the ladies in the room, sometimes we are told our greatest calling is to be a mom. Our greatest calling is to be a wife. And I love my kids. I love my husband so much. But they are not my greatest calling. They're not. They are a part of who I am. They are my favorite thing and my favorite people. But they are not my greatest calling. I became a Christian right before my junior year in high school. And I read this verse pretty quickly on. And it's Galatians 2:20. And it says, I have been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live, but Christ lives in me, and the life I now live in the body I live by faith in the Son of God who something or another. Thank you. But that's your greatest calling is to follow Jesus. And so that means whether you get married one day or whether you are like a serial dater or you never have a date your whole life, you are like purposeless, right? Like you have a calling because Christ is your calling. Whether you have kids or no kids, you have a calling. Whether you have a job or 25 jobs, You still have a calling because regardless of that field, Christ is who you're called to follow. Are we all pointing out our friends who have never had a date or something? Why
We were trying to figure out what serial dating meant. Like, we were really confused. Because you like all the different kinds, so you just have to test. Is that what? I don't know.
Jody, we're at church. Serial dating, like, if someone's a serial murderer, they kill a lot of people. They kill a lot of people. A serial dater dates a lot of people.
Should I be done? Should I walk away?
You thought I was talking about like Fruit Loops or...
Yes, I was thinking
Fruit Loops. Fruit Loops.
So you, as serial daters, you go have Fruit Loops with this guy and Cheerios with this guy. Sorry, guys.
So what
They're
it sounds
transitioning.
like, what it sounds like, Miss Becky was saying, and what Chris was alluding to as well, is this idea of sometimes, like Chris had said, sometimes we can feel like we're falling behind because we look at calling and we think it's a profession, or we think it's a specific title beyond child of God. And so we look at that and we're like, okay, my career is very important. My dating status is very important. My financial position is very important. And so we elevate those above other things. And we think that when we haven't met our own expectations of what those should be, that we're falling behind. And in all of that, we're losing the picture of, like Becky said, we have one great calling, and it is to follow Jesus. And we can't do all of the things for our other callings. Chris and Lance could not be good father. Becky and Jody could not be good mothers if they did not first walk with Jesus and know what that was like and be able to be fed in that way and pursue Jesus and know Jesus in that way, to be able to be a loving wife, to be able to be loving parents. And so I think it was beautiful how each of y'all said something different, but it points to that fact that we are dependent on our Savior to know what it means to walk in that calling, to figure out what the calling is, and to know how that looks to walk in it, and how the titles that you have and the accomplishments and the acquisitions that you make are part of it, but they're not the goal, and they're not the calling itself. So yeah, thank you. Jody, I know you and I have talked, and we talked about this idea of just as Chris and Becky have alluded to, like, calling isn't a profession, and it isn't a title necessarily. And a lot of us have heard things about calling growing up, and are still currently believing some things about calling that maybe aren't true. And so what was, for any of you who want to answer, what is a myth that you learned about calling and what you thought it was, and then how did you unlearn it? What did it take for you to unlearn what calling wasn't and what it is?
So when I was in college, I went to a private Christian school in the Panhandle, and my degree was religion with a minor in business. And I had full planned at that point to go be a missionary, to work in a church, to do some kind of ministry, but it all was going to revolve around a church setting. And so as time went on in college, I started dating Chad, and he was working at a church, and it's just my view and what I had thought about my calling drastically changed then, because I had the idea that because I was in the church and grew up in the church and wanted to follow Jesus, I had to go serve him somewhere in a church or overseas and do some kind of mission work in that capacity. And so when Chad and I started dating, then the question became for me is, he is on staff at a church, so what do I do now? And in a sense, for a while, I would say I was like, oh, I don't know what to do, because I'm supposed to work in a church and he's supposed to do something else. In my head, this is the myth that I had, is that I was going to be doing something and he could do something else. And it's something that we've talked about off and on our whole marriage. In May, we'll be married for 20 years. So it's a conversation that we've had before moving forward. But so I had to unlearn the fact that ministry happens only in a church. And so for me, I got the chance at that point to teach and to coach, and ministry happened on a basketball court when I was coaching girls, in a classroom when I had a kid walk in from the next class period, and they were stressed and worried, and things at home weren't okay. And so at that moment, my ministry became something that I got to serve in the church, in a small group that I was leading, but also where I was. It's an action, and so that meant wherever I was, looking for people around, even going to Target and going to the grocery store, there's people around that just have a story. And so I had to unlearn that those kind of conversations and that kind of intentionality that you can have can happen outside the church. And so that really became changing for my world. And the girls that I got to coach and the kids that I got to teach in a classroom, there was more intentional and discipleship that was happening that way because of the hours that I spent with those kids, not in a church setting. And so even in that, I've gone through different jobs or careers or whatever, and every time I do something different, I love it because it's conversations and it's building relationships with people and it's pouring into people. And when I unlearned ministry only happens in a church, and I learned that ministry happens in a coffee conversation, in a hall, like in the aisle at Target, wherever I am, when I unlearned that it's only in the church and learned that it happens all around me, the way that I view people and the way that I invested and poured in I would say has changed, because it's not just inside the walls of a building.
Yeah, so for me, there was a myth, I believe, that calling was going to be one specific thing that didn't change, and that I had to find that. I had to figure that out. And if I missed it, then I just wasn't serving any purpose. And so when it comes to like my profession, I wanted to be in ministry. I felt called to ministry. There was a time in my life, about 11 years, where I wasn't working for a church. I was working in oil and gas. I was selling pipe fittings. And that stretch helped me realize that, okay, I didn't miss my calling. It just looks different right now. And so it's not necessarily one specific thing. We have that one specific calling for all of us that God puts on us to follow him, to be good disciples, to disciple others. But when it comes to what we do for a living and how we interact with other people, I always thought when I was younger, oh, I've got to figure that out. It's like a code I've got to crack, and I need God to speak to me so that I know what my calling is. And now I feel like what I've learned is it's similar in every setting. It's just really depends where I'm at. So I'm always asking a question now, like, well, why does God have me here right now? Why does God have me in this time and place, and what's my calling in that context? That was the thing I don't think I realized is we have different contexts in our life. We have different time. Like, I'll give you an example. So I have a 10-year-old boy. He's playing a lot of sports right now, and so I find myself sitting and watching practice all the time. And when I'm doing that, I'm sitting with other parents. I'm getting to know families that I wouldn't get to know outside of that context. And so now I'm asking, well, why has God put me here? It sounds like a small, trivial thing, right? I'm just watching an hour-long basketball practice. But why has God put me here? What is his calling in this time and place? And that can change over time. And if I missed it in one instance, that doesn't mean it's just over. It means, okay, so maybe I messed up. Maybe I missed it in that setting. How do I learn from that and apply what he's called me to do to the next opportunity?
Yeah. This idea that ministry doesn't just happen within church walls, and that wherever you go, we kind of talked about that a little bit last week. If you remember, if you were able to make it, Eric mentioned your setting and where you have been placed is incredibly intentional, and there's something you can do in that moment. With the time that every one of you guys got to spend with family, or whether it was friends, or whatever it was this past week that y'all got to spend additional time that you're not used to spending with your family, where you got to be a sibling and you got to be a child, a son or a daughter, you got to be a friend, you got to be a cousin, you got to be a niece or a nephew. In all of those spaces, there is a way to do ministry, and that's part of the calling. And so for some of you, it's like, okay, well, I can, for a lot of us, for myself included, it used to be in my brain this idea of there's a switch that I can flip, and you turn on the ministry brain or you turn on the ministry heart when you're in a certain setting, but it's not necessary in other settings because maybe I'm not equipped enough in those other settings, or I don't have what it takes in those other settings. So here I can be a really good friend and a really kind and caring, and I can show Christ's character and Christ's light in this way, but at home with my brother, no, I can't do that because I don't know how. And so for a lot of us, we have to remind ourselves that there's not an accident where we've been placed. It's always intentional, and that because it's never an accident, that there's always something to do. There's always the fact of the matter that Jesus is there with you in that moment. The Holy Spirit is with you in that moment and that you're not having to do it alone. It's something I've heard from each one of you as y'all have talked, is this idea of like, I had to figure it out. I had to learn how to do this, or I had to connect the dots, and I had to do, and you don't. And they've spoken on the fact that they were like, yeah, we tried that, didn't really work. And when we tried to do it, we were proven wrong, or we were gently corrected, or however the Lord saw fit to teach them what his truth was. And so this idea that we don't have to do it on our own, and in fact, we should not try to do it on our own. It's not a fact of like, oh, like I can still do it on my own. I don't have to, but I still can. It's like, no, you don't have to, and you shouldn't try to do it on your own. That wasn't our design. That wasn't our intention. Along with that is this idea of like, okay, well, I don't want to do it on my own, but I know I don't have what it takes, and I know I need people, I need community, I need resources, I need things that the Lord has designed. And so I want to bring us into our next question and open it up to, what does it look like to step into a setting, to step into a new circumstance or a new environment where you are continuing your calling that God has given you, and knowing that you're walking in that door not knowing what to expect, not feeling like you have an ounce of resources or skills or what you think it requires to fulfill that position or to fulfill that role that you've been called to do.
So part of my story is, so the job I have now for a long time as a member of this church, I was like, man, if I could just do that job, that would be awesome. That's what I would love to do. That's sort of the dream. And then this job opened up probably 3 years before I actually took it. And I saw that there was an opening. I saw that it was an opportunity. I read the job description, and I instantly just started telling myself, like, you're not qualified for this. You're not ready for this. You can't do this. And so I never applied, never told anyone I was interested. And sort of by the grace of God, 3 years later, it opened up again. And so at that point, nothing had really changed. I hadn't taken a course on how to do this. I was just more confident on, let's just step into it and trust that if it's open and I go through a process, that God's going to give me the tools and the resources and whatever I need to be able to do the job. And that doesn't mean I'm always going to do it well. That doesn't mean I'm not going to mess up. But I've actually been super thankful for that season of stepping into a role that I didn't know if I was ready for, but I knew for sure that he had called me to. Because I had all these moments where I was like, oh, I don't know enough for this. I'm not experienced enough for this. I'm not ready for this. But then I had that reminder, like, well, he wouldn't have put me here if I couldn't handle it. And that's not me handling it on my own. It's like, okay, well, the same God that put me in this position is going to provide what I need to be able to do it and learn from it and grow in it. And so, yeah, stepping into that, and instantly you have that voice in your head that says, you can't do this, you're going to fail at this, you're not good enough for this, you're not smart enough. And some of us have that voice all the time. But like I said, it's just that reminder, like, God doesn't put us in places and then just leave us there and go, hey man, go figure it out. He puts us there, and then he's willing to provide what we need while we're there.
And I would add to that, don't avoid things just because you're really bad at them at the beginning, or think that you're disqualified from it because you're not great at it. Example, anybody play instruments in here, whether you're a band or something, raise your hand. Were you really, keep your hand up. Keep your hand up now if you were really great the very first time you played it. Congrats, bud. Okay, good for you.
Good job,
He's like,
man.
have this day. Okay.
It's one guy.
Well done. For most of us, the very first time we do anything, we're really bad at it, right? And so I would say, give yourself grace as you step into things, and know sometimes it's going to be a win and sometimes it's going to be a fail. I'll give you a couple of examples from my own life as it pertains to calling. In college, a job I had was I worked as a barista at Sweet Eugene's in College Station. I never drank coffee, and I was now making coffee for people. I actually hated the smell of coffee, and I was making coffee for people. Other jobs I had that were natural and good, I did public relations and marketing straight out of college. I crushed it. I'm really, really good at marketing on the fly. I'm really, really great at that. A year and a half into that, God called me out of that and put me into ministry. Ministry was something I worked at a church, but then that's also when I started speaking at women's events and then publishing books. a couple of things with that. Y'all heard me say I didn't become a Christian until I was 16. Y'all, I had so much shame in my life because before 16, I didn't make good choices, right? Mariah, could you nod your head? Chris, I made really bad life choices, and I felt disqualified because of those choices. I didn't believe God could use me to encourage and challenge other people in their faith. One, because I didn't even know anything about the Bible till I turned 16. And two, I had done some really, really terrible things, and I felt disqualified because of my choices. In addition to that, practically, I'm a published author. I have 2 books in bookstores. And I don't know the difference, y'all, between a comma, semicolon, any of those things. I am terrible at grammar, and I'm a published author. So I share that to be an example of the verse I want you to hear. So I want everyone to look up, and I want you to listen to this verse because this is a good one. Everybody say 2 Corinthians. And we're going to look at chapter 12, and I'm going to read to you 9 through 10. Ready? Everybody say ready for ready. Thank you. Okay. But he, being Jesus, said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. I want you to hear that. My grace, Jesus' grace is sufficient for you. That means it's absolutely enough for whatever you step into in life. And then it says, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. For the sake of Christ, then, I am content with weaknesses, insults, hardships, persecutions, and calamities. For when I am weak, then I am strong. So I want to say this to you. You may be really, really terrible at certain things, and God's still calling you to step into that. That is where God gets the most glory in your life. Okay? And that may be now. I have girls in my group who have been in sports and had to step into other places. There are things God's going to call you into that aren't natural for you or don't feel like maybe the right smart thing to do, right, girls? Are there times you've had to step into things you're like, that doesn't make sense? However, when you step into obedience with God, you get to experience something so wild. You get to experience him helping you become a published author when you don't know what a comma does, right? You could do anything. You could do anything.
Can I add one thing? So I thought back to when I was in 8th grade, and I grew up in a very small redneck town, very, very country, 25 people in my graduating class. That might be just your one English class. That was who I graduated with. So small town. So as I did something, my mom knew about it before I ever got home. It was that kind of place. But my 8th grade year, there was a girl named Bobby Scott and a girl named Rochelle Miller. And these 2 girls, we had every class together. We did all the things together because it's a small town, right? So we had this speaker coming to our church, and he kept telling us on Sunday morning, hey, invite your friends. All you have to do is invite your friends. Just invite your friends. Right now, you're in school, you're at work, invite your friends. That's your specific calling today, or that's what you need to do. It was kind of the pressure in that moment. And I was like, I don't have a clue how to do this as an 8th grader, but I grew up in church, and I knew the language, didn't know how to communicate that with my friends. So finally, I had enough guts to go up to Bobby and say, hey, Bobby, we're doing this thing at my church. You know where the church is. There's only one Baptist church in my town. How about you come with me? We'll feed you dinner. She was in. She came. That night, I didn't have to do anything. My specific job that day, I felt all day at school like the Lord convicting, the Holy Spirit was just stinking ask Bobby to come. But the nervousness and the anxious and the guts that it took for me to have that conversation, I asked her to come, and she came. That night she came. She had a great time. She came back the next night. The same guy was speaking. He kept saying, hey, invite your friends. All you got to do is invite them. Invite your friends. So I asked Bobby again, and she came again. The second night, Bobby trusted Jesus with her life, and she said yes to following him. I was the girl that thought I was going to be the missionary and go overseas and do all these things. We graduated high school. She went to college. And this is one of the coolest things because you never know. And so for that season, my job was to be with my friends and to impact them for Jesus. She graduated college. She's the one that went overseas. She's the one that was in China for 15 years and just recently moved back and adopted a little boy. She's the one, y'all, that got to go tell all these people in China about Jesus. And for that moment, I didn't know anything but just to go tell Bobby to come. And look what the Lord did. So some of us are trying to wrestle with our careers and what we're going to do with our life. And there's also a kid next to you at school that just needs to hear Jesus and just needs you to say, hey, come on Wednesday night. You just got to invite them. And so sometimes we're not equipped. But you know what? The Lord did an incredible thing in Bobby's life. The Lord did something in Rochelle's life too. And 3 days after Bobby said yes, Rochelle said yes, because Bobby who didn't know anything about Jesus, just knew that she said yes to Jesus. Bobby and I sat with her at class in English, put our books aside, and started talking to Rochelle about Jesus. In English class, Rochelle said yes to Jesus. Y'all, it's just that moment of being obedient. So like you never know. So like the girl in your class or the boy at school or the girl playing basketball or playing football that just doesn't have anything to do on a Wednesday night, man, just invite them. Like that, sometimes it takes a lot of guts and we don't have the words. We don't know how to tell them about Jesus, but you got Elizabeth, you got your small group leaders here. People are gonna help you. And so I would encourage you, like, I didn't know what I was doing. I just said yes, just come. And sometimes the Lord does incredible things like that are, like what Chris said, are beyond what we can ever fathom in our calling. And sometimes we just have to walk and take action.
Yeah. That was amazing. Yeah. I think something that that story beautifully touched on was this idea of we focus so much on what we don't know. Like, okay, well, Lord, this is where you're calling me, and this is what obedience, but if you recall, like, I don't know what a comma does. I don't know, like, much about, I know how to talk to my friends, but I don't know all the language. I don't know all of these things. And so we're like, I don't know. And we paralyze ourselves. And we're like, okay, well, I'll sit myself out. I'll put myself on the sidelines because I don't know enough. Instead of thinking, but the things that you do know, Jody is phenomenal at bringing people in. Since the moment I've met her, it is just a joy, and the things and that she may not get to see. And every single one of these people up here has a quality about themselves that is just a gifting from the Lord, that you maybe you're not looking at the mirror in yourself and you're not thinking like, oh, I have this quality, I have this quality, I have this quality. You're most likely looking in the mirror and thinking, I don't have this and I don't have that and I can't do this. And you're focusing on all of the things that God maybe hasn't gifted you with yet or hasn't done for you, instead of thinking like, wow, who is God? What has he given me? What do I have in my hands with me right now to be able to be obedient, to be able to do what he's asking me to do, and to think about those things and thankfulness to God of what he's given you, and say like, okay, Lord, if this is all that I have, if this is the only understanding of the situation that you've given me right now, how can I steward this well? How can I do this well? And going that route instead of focusing on everything that you don't have. And as Jody's story tells you, like, there's so much about a situation that you're walking into that you have no idea. She did not know Rochelle's heart posture. She did not know Bobby's heart posture. But she did what was obedience to the Lord that he was calling her to do in that moment. And so looking at a situation and saying like, okay, well, what insights has the Lord given me? And not focusing on what you don't have in those moments. And that leads me into our last question. I think how we're gonna close today up is just kind of talking through what it looks like to have community in the midst of all of these things. As y'all have walked all of this route and y'all have had people there to pour into, people there to encourage you, and the things about a situation and a circumstance that you can't see for yourself or that you can't understand for yourself, but maybe someone else was there to speak into that and to show us why we're designed to be with others and to live in community. What does it look like, or who are some of the people that you know that you hold dear that have been able to speak into your life and help you endure and persevere in your calling when it got hard or when you didn't understand?
They're gonna think, so I'll go ahead and answer. 'Cause I actually have, y'all can maybe have specific answers on like community that helped you. I wanted to just speak into if you feel like you don't have community. So I've already shared I was not raised in a Christian home, and my parents, a lifetime of counseling got me to be like, they did the best they could with what they were capable of doing is probably the kindest way I could summarize that. So going into high school, going into college, going into life, I've not had parents that I could lean on to guide me through that. in addition, I didn't have like that. I didn't grow up in a church like this, so I didn't have mentors and leaders who could help me with that either. So I would say if you find yourself without like mentors and leaders to help you, again, back to that verse, like God can lead you in that. Even if you feel there will be seasons of your life, even if you're surrounded by amazing family and small group leaders who are obsessed with you, you're going to still have times when you feel alone in life. And I will just say in those moments, remember, like God has not forsaken you. Like he still can work in and through you, even if you feel alone in that. So I just wanted to speak into that place if you feel like you don't have those like cheerleaders or people.
One thing that I would encourage you to do is if you don't have parents, you have other people that do love you. And so a lot of it is, a lot of things in our world today take us having guts and courage to go to someone and say, hey, can you help me? Hey, I'm stuck. Hey, I need some help. That initial conversation that you go to whoever that person may be for you, that takes a lot of guts to do. And so if you don't have parents, if you don't have grandparents, someone in your home, you have small group leaders and you have staff here at church and other people that do love you, maybe teachers that you know follow Jesus, having that conversation, I would encourage you, number one, to do that. I can look back over my life, and this has always been like something I would love to do. I don't know if it would ever be possible. I would love to take the people that poured into my life and put them all in one room together. I had the privilege of going, and I had the guts and the courage to go to a teacher, Kathy McCowan, when I was in 7th grade, and saying, hey, I need some help. Like, you're gonna have to help me walk through this. My parents had divorced when I was little, and it was just, it is what it is, kind of like her, it is what it is, we're just gonna go with it. But I can name different people. Kathy McCowan was my teacher when I was in elementary. Coach Alexander was a coach that loved me and cared for me. I can get to college, and I worked with the lady, Sunil Pyatt. I lived with somebody named Jean Peterson. I can name specific people but I have always had to make that first step. So I would encourage you, like, if you don't have that, that's one of the hardest things to do. And sometimes I have even said it has felt like I have had a conversation with someone and I knew it wasn't a good fit for me to like be their like mentor or spend time with them. I love them, but we just didn't connect really well. And so I'd go try somebody else. So it may take some effort on yours, and that's where it gets hard. But if that's something that you're wanting and that you know is valuable, I highly believe it is, go for it. One of the things that we've done with some of our kids, our 3 kids, is we have people that they like to spend time with. And part of that is like strategic parenting on our part, but like there's a lady in the church that one time took Lily out to get coffee when things were crazy. And she went and got coffee with her, and they sat and they talked, and then we've gone and watched their kids play basketball, and then full circle moment, they came and watched her play basketball. So it's making an effort. That's what I would encourage you to do, is like, it doesn't just, sometimes things just don't fall in your lap. If you see someone that you're like, hey, there's something there, take that step and go talk to them. But surrounding yourself with people that you know are like-minded and can give you wisdom and will also speak truth, even when it's hard. Those are the good people that you want around, is the people that will speak truth and love, even when you really don't want to hear it, but you need to hear it.
Yeah, let me see if I can weave this observation about your calling into this as well. Having or discovering your calling isn't all coming through a bright, shining ray of light through the clouds. It's not all rainbows and sunshine. Many times, the things that forge your understanding of your calling actually happen at some of the deepest, hardest moments in your life. And I'd say that's where, in your solitude, you wrestle with God, you reconcile what's going on, but also the value of having that community of people who also have a common foundational base with God can speak into your lives. Often I think through my personal experiences that shaped my future, right? Yes, there were lonely solitude times where God can really speak to me. There were challenging times, but there are also times I came out and actually had some of these conversations with Christian friends of mine who could speak into my life and really kind of give me valuable insight into what's going on there.
Yeah, gosh, I have so many thoughts on that, connected to community. But I'll say this, tying in community to calling, any big life decision I've made, anything like that, I'm always looking for people who have known me and who I've trusted and who I've been sort of chasing after the same things with for a long time. And I know for some of you that's just a couple of years, but community has always been really important to me because I've got that handful of people that when life is getting hard or I'm looking at something's going to change, I can go to them and say, hey, you've known me for a long time, and regardless of the decision I make, you want good for me, you want to support me, you love me. What do you think about this? And then I get to see it through that lens. And for me, I'm lucky enough, sometimes that's my parents, my wife. I've got a good friend that's been my best friend since we were 17 years old, and anytime I'm making a big decision, I'm just at least having a conversation with him, because it's someone who I know has known me for a long time. He knows what I'm about. We're about the same things. We're chasing after the same things. And so it's really important as you try to discern what am I called to, that you have people like that in your life. And hopefully that can be parents. Hopefully that can be small group leaders. But you need that. And I'll say this too, and then I'll be done. When it comes to those kinds of things and those kinds of conversations, I have realized that there are people that I value their wisdom. I want to know what they think, and I used to hesitate to ask them, right? And so you guys have small group leaders, you have a student team, and trust me, as an adult, like there's nothing we want more than to help you. Like if you've got a question, if you got something, and I know in your mind, because I do the same thing. Like if I want to have lunch with a guy like Chris, I'm like, Chris, he's probably busy. He's got a lot on his plate. He doesn't want to talk to me, right? But you never know till you ask. And I promise you, you've got a ton of people in your life that want you to ask. And I know it's a little awkward, but they really want you to. And so start with your small group leader. If you feel comfortable, start with your parents. If you have other students in your life who are older than you, a little ahead of you, like ask them. But I promise there are people who want to help you work through those things. We just all have that tendency to go, oh, they probably don't want to talk to me. They don't want to spend that time. I promise you they do.
Mm-hmm. Can I add one more thing? I know we have to wrap. But I will also say it's important to find people your same age. Just like you love coming to small groups on Wednesday because you get to talk and hear the people your same age share. When I told y'all I became a Christian right before my junior year in high school, and I went from being like in the party crowd to, oh my gosh, who am I going to hang out with now? And so I found a Christian teacher at my school who let us get into her room early before school started. And I just put it out there to, hey, anybody that wants to come have accountability. I just learned what the word accountability meant. Anybody who wants to come meet for accountability, come into Miss Taylor's room on whatever day of week it was. It's literally the first week we had 25 girls show up for accountability, and we broke into small groups, and we shared. I knew nothing about Jesus or following Jesus, but I knew I needed other people to help me along the way. And so find people, like if your calling is to follow Jesus in all different ways all throughout your life, really go there with your friends. Just like Jody was saying, like you're gonna have to ask people, and that's both mentors but also peers. And that means when you're with your peers, yes, you could be making stupid TikToks, or I'm sorry, they're not stupid, they're awesome TikToks, or doing whatever you do with your friends, but also ask each other, hey, how's it going reading your Bible right now? And then you can honestly tell each other, actually terrible, I haven't opened it in a really long time. Okay, let's text each other at 5 a.m. or let's do this. And y'all hold each other accountable to growing in your walk with Jesus. That is how you're going to have the most success in pursuing your calling in life, is if you personally have a strong relationship with Jesus yourself,